Okay, Jay. So Jay Hum is here from Pivotal Labs. Who here, raise your hands, knows and or understands Pivotal Labs? Actually, other way around. Who's never heard of these guys? All right, there you go, Jay.
Mixed crowd.
It's a mixed crowd. Take it as you wish, and you've got 5 minutes.
Sure,
Thank you,
sounds good. So earlier this morning, I had an opportunity to attend another event down in the South Bay, and I got to see Clay Christensen and Mark Anderson on stage. And obviously, there was some heavy stuff that they were talking about. But then I thought back to that seminal quote that Mark said back in 2011, "Software is eating the world." Now, quick show of hands, does this surprise anybody? Does anybody feel uncomfortable about that phrase? I have 5 minutes, so let's make this interactive here. So raise the hands if anybody is irked by that statement. Okay, great, exactly my point. So if we take that moving forward here, every company now, whether they know it or like to admit it or not, is now becoming a software company. Even the companies that just have small little startups or small companies are run on software. So what does that mean for Pivotal? Well, our mission is to transform how the world builds software. And what does that mean exactly in terms of where Pivotal fits? Well, Pivotal is an agile development consultancy. And we are based on two main tenets. We are agile to the core, and we're lean in practice. And so agile to the core means that we practice extreme programming. Is anybody here familiar with extreme programming? Great. So we actually take that up to the highest level. So every one of our projects, we practice extreme and pair programming, and we do that with companies such as yourselves, so early stage startups or pre-revenue starters, and we scale that all the way up to Fortune 100 companies. And our business model is very unique in a sense that we do not want to be any company's long-term development partner. And I'll say that again, we do not want to be anybody's long-term development partner. We've had a number of people that come up to say, why would we work with you when I can go get 40 developers over in India for 1 month for the amount that you would charge in 1 day? Well, the answer to that is that, one, with Pivotal Labs, you will get a product. That's essentially what we also do. We build the products. But second, and more importantly, what we do is we enable your own development teams. So how do we do that? We have all of your developers and designers and product managers come and work with us on site. And by allowing that allows us to practice our two main principles, which are transparency and tight feedback loops. By having the entire development team consisting of our developers, designers, product managers, with your developers, designers, and product managers working together in one location, it allows the free flow form of communication, transparency. So for instance, if a developer has an issue and they have a question about how a particular story is written, you can turn around and quickly talk to a product manager or designer and get clarity on how that is best to be able to solve, right? And again, the other part by having everybody in our location is that they are learning our whole process, our tools, and our methodology outside of their normal work environment. So the analogy I like to use, if you wanted to learn a foreign language, there are numerous ways you can learn a foreign language, right? You can go and get audio tapes or audio CDs. You can go buy books. You can take a course over the weekends. But what's the best way to learn a foreign language? Pick up, move to that country, and immerse yourself in that country and that culture for a number of time. That's exactly what we do when we bring clients into our work environment. They are no longer distracted with some of the things that they have back in their office, whether their boss or their other coworkers or any other little things that they have within their own office. When they come and work with us, they are focused and they're pairing with our developers, designers, and product managers all day, every day. I know I still have 5 minutes, but I can leave it up for questions.
Questions? I'll start a question. So I understand you guys work with some really, really big companies, and you also work with startups. So how do you price your services so it makes sense for like a small guy to jump in with you guys?
That's a great question because right now we are updating a Pivotal for Startups program, and so we are scaling back some of the things that we're doing on the enterprise side that are better suited to obviously a startup's budget. And one of the things that we're doing right now as well is that we're trying to have more of a focus on startups because a lot of the enterprise companies that we do work with right now love the fact that we work with startups. They love the fact that we're working with innovative companies that are looking to disrupt all types of different industries. So we are working on some programs that will allow us to offer a number of tools and our services at a discounted rate. And I have some information I could pass out later that once you visit the website, you'll see that we're going to offer some very interesting and valuable packages for the startup community here.
So you're basically training engineers or training them how to build software. Is that what you guys do? I'm a little confused then.
Yeah, that's one part of it. Obviously, again, we're a software development consultancy, so clients will come to us. Let's take, for example, they want an iOS built. Now, there are a number of companies that do that. Right? There's probably a few down the street. So the first part is that we definitely will build an application, whether it's a web app or a mobile app with them. But the second part, and what's more important to us and where our philosophy really comes from, is that we are enabling, and not so much training, but enabling our clients in terms of our tools, our methodologies, and the agile process, so that after the end of the engagement, they will have two things. They will have that app, whether it's a web app or a mobile app, but more importantly, again, they will have the tool set and the methodology to take that app back into their home office and continuing developing that app, whether it's 1.2 or 2.0. And not only that, they'll be able to spread that knowledge that they've learned while working with us internally so that that knowledge can be spread out across their organization.
So this seems like it's something that's very kind of time intensive. How does something like this scale?
Time intensive in terms of the number of resources? Or?
Yeah, like because they spend a full day with your engineers, right, or your team.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, again, it is a services industry, so we're dealing with something that leaves the office every night at 6 p.m. But again, we always try to focus when we bring on clients in the first project, we always try to focus on something that is manageable and small that will be able to show value in a certain amount of time. So scaling, again, how we are accomplishing that is that we are working with a number of different recruiting firms to bring in companies here, and then part of it also is training up some of the other client engineers so that they can expand their teams as well. So, for instance, there's company X that worked with us, let's say, for an iOS app, but then now they want to go to Android, but they don't have an Android developer on staff. We will actually work with them to hire an Android developer. So they'll go through our interview process and make sure that they understand our process right from the start. And then if they're good enough to work with us at Pivotal, then they're definitely good enough to work with the startup. Any other questions?
Hi. Any other questions for Jay? Of course, you're in the back row, Gil.
I'm wondering if you have a good failure story. Are there any companies where there's just too much politics, or the engineers just aren't capable, or there's some decision? I mean, do you ever try to get this going and find you can't actually work with the company?
Yes, that definitely has happened. So, and that usually happens where there's somewhat of a disconnect between what we'll call the way the services was sold to a client in the beginning. Because a lot of people, when they come into our office, they see how we do the pair programming and all that. But when the rubber hits the road, when some of the engineers are tasked with actually pairing, some of these engineers or even designers or product people have been very used to working in a solo environment. And they think, oh yeah, I'll be able to just pair every now and then. And so there are some situations where an engagement has broken off early because there wasn't the right fit in terms of we are very disciplined with our pairing, and that's the structure that we want to keep. And so if there's a some individuals on the client side that aren't willing to adopt our methodology and pair with us, we may have a difficult conversation and talk to them like maybe this isn't the right fit. And then another software development AG may be better suited towards their needs.
All right. Thank you so much, Jay. We love Pivotal. Good stuff.